Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wines of Germany's fourth virtual event from our German Wine from Home series. We're excited to have you here today for Shaken or Stirred, mixing up a cocktail party with German wine, hosted by Sarah Tracey. Sarah is a certified sommelier and a food and lifestyle expert based in New York. She is known for her blog, The Lush Life, and as the resident wine expert at Martha Stewart Living Online. She has also been a sommelier and wine director in some of New York's top restaurants. Many here today are probably familiar with and big fans of German Riesling, but today we'll be exploring its potential for all kinds of entertaining, including its applicability for premium cocktails. Sarah will lead a quick wine tasting, dive into some entertaining pro tips, and finally we'll all test out our mixology skills with a German wine cocktail. Before we get started, we wanted to flag that all of your videos and sound have been shut off, but if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A feature, and we invite you to engage with each other, Sarah, and our team in the chat feature at any time. In addition to the two wines we'll taste today, you should have received a kit from Caputo's with a ginger syrup, bitters, cheese, and crackers. If you haven't already chilled the wines, we suggest you pop them into the fridge, freezer, or over at ice now. You'll also want to have on hand the tasting sheet and tasting mat that we sent with the wines. If you didn't see these, please check below the cardboard inserts. Please also grab wine glasses, have some ice on hand, a jigger or other measuring materials, a spoon, and some sparkling water or club soda. We'd love to see photos of your cocktails and read your thoughts on social media. Please note our handle is at German Wine USA, not at Wines of Germany. And feel free to use the hashtag German Wine from Home. And you can also tag Sarah at The Lush Life on Instagram or The Lush Life NY on Twitter. I'll be popping back in from time to time to help facilitate any questions, but for now, I'll kick it over to Sarah to get started. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for that intro, Megan, and hello to everyone out there. If you don't know me, it is a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sarah, and I am not only a wine pro, but I am an avid home entertaining enthusiast. So this event is basically a dream come true for me because I get to combine my love of hosting with my passion for German wine. We have such a delicious, very interactive hour ahead of us. So we can go ahead and get started. As Megan was saying, you're gonna wanna make sure that you grab your wines, your cocktail ingredients, and your snacks and just have them close by. We're gonna be diving into these two beautiful Rieslings, and I'll be sharing my favorite entertaining tips and tricks along the way and my philosophy with home entertaining. And when I say that, that could be a party for one. Like, I'm the first person to say I will make a beautiful charcuterie board and have a bottle of Riesling, just love my life. Or maybe it could be date night, maybe it is a small group in your quarantine pod, and then when things start to open again, these tips will serve you well for larger groups as well. But my philosophy is just to make things as easy as possible and to do really maximum impact, minimum effort. And German wines are a great way to really elevate your own style of home entertaining. I have to confess, I have completely changed my ways with my whole philosophy and approach to having people over. When I was brand new, I loved to throw these multi-course dinner parties where I was hand muddling cocktails for everybody to order all night and shuffling in my oven and being chained to the stove in my bar. And it was impressive, but I also realized at a certain point that I actually didn't enjoy myself. I was stressed out during, I was exhausted after, and I really didn't get to spend a lot of time with my guests. So along the way, I have kind of changed direction, and now I just do as much as I possibly can ahead of time while still trying to put some special touches in there to elevate the whole proceeding. And that way I get to enjoy my own party. So without further ado, I would love you to go ahead and grab your bottle of Fitzfruiter. This is the Sekt. This is a Riesling Extra Trocken, and just pour yourself a generous pour. And first of all, cheers. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Prost. Is that, Megan, is that the German? I want to make sure I'm getting that right.
Yeah, Prost is typically for beer, but we're extending it to wine as well. Real quick, do you have your mic on?
I do. Are you guys not hearing me well?
I think I'm a little bit louder, but if anyone can't hear, oh yeah, we do have a comment that it's a little hard to hear you.
Let me just check my audio settings and make sure everything's working. Hold, please.
Little sipping break.
Sipping break. The beauty of Zoom. Is that any better, you guys? I'm gonna turn the input volume up. How about that?
That's great. It might be because you were right in front of the screen. So let's.
And how about now? Is that still difficult, guys?
Sounds great. Okay. Yes.
Okay,
better.
beautiful. Then give me 2 more seconds.
All right.
Okay, so while we're talking about essentially why I love German wine specifically for this style of entertaining, first of all, they're incredibly crowd pleasing. So that's one thing that I look to do is just to get a beautiful selection of high quality wines that are bright, fruity, refreshing, and just open them and put them out and let everybody pour for themselves. It just makes my life so much easier. They are also amazingly food friendly. So all of my sommeliers in the audience know this. When you can't figure out what to pair, Riesling usually does the trick. So no matter what kind of event you're throwing, whether it is a fancy dinner or maybe it's game day or maybe it's brunch or even Thanksgiving, chances are Riesling is going to play incredibly well with all the flavors on the table. I love these for entertaining because they are lower in alcohol, low ABV. Riesling, Germany being a cooler climate area, grapes don't achieve the same kind of ripeness they do from warmer climates. And so you have a very moderate alcohol. For me, my friends are a very enthusiastic and festive group. If I serve them cocktails all night, it's like a crime scene after. So I love to kind of moderate everyone's intake, and I love German Riesling for that. And then finally, it's just such a celebratory and affordable wine, especially German Sekt, which is what we just toasted with. It's a great alternative to champagne for your birthdays, your anniversaries, your New Year's Eve, and all of that fun stuff. So again, cheers everyone. And we're gonna dive into this Sekt. I wanted to make sure that we got some time to really enjoy the wines as is. Then we'll talk about how they pair with food. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to mix them into cocktails. But as you're exploring the wine, I'm just going to give you some history on the region and a little bit of information about the producer as well. So this is from the Pfalz, and this is really one of Germany's largest winemaking regions. It is definitely rush hour in Brooklyn. I'm just hearing the traffic. Forgive that as well. So the Pfalz is derived from the Latin word palatium, meaning palace. These wines produced in the Pfalz for white wines, we're talking about mostly Riesling and Müller-Thurgau, a little Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc. The Pfalz is kind of right on the other side of France from Alsace. So if you're familiar with Alsatian wines, again, the Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, you're going to see those in the Pfalz as well. And then the reds are from Dornfelder and Pinot Noir. The Pfalz is home to the world's largest wine barrel, the world's largest wine festival, the world's oldest wine in the Palatinate Historical Museum, and the first and best known wine route, the German Wine Road. So I think that sounds incredibly fun. I think we should all go when we're allowed to. Let's do it. A sekt is, as a category, it's simply the German word for sparkling wine, and it doesn't denote a specific production method or a specific region or a specific variety. There's a really large banner of wines that fall into this category. The Germans love their bubbles. They drink 400 million bottles of sparkling wine annually, and they make 380 million bottles of sekt, and most of that stays in Germany. So again, Germans, they love, love, love these beautiful bubbly wines. In the past, most sekt was the base wine would get brought in from across Europe, and then the secondary fermentation would happen in Germany. That's starting to change. You have a lot of producers making small production, artisanal sekt. It was traditionally made in the Charmat method. Now you're seeing it also made by some in the traditional method. Now you can find single estate sekt, you can find single varietal sekt, which is what we're sipping on right now. This is 100% Riesling. And then finally, just the history of how sekt made its way to Germany, I think is really, really fascinating. So in the 1800s, you had lots of German winemakers go to France and spend time in Champagne, learn how to make sparkling wine there. Some people came back to Germany and started their own sparkling production. That is actually this wine right here. Fitzritter is actually one of those families. And then some stayed in Champagne and set up their own champagne houses. So fun fact, Krug, Heidsieck, Bollinger, Mumm, these are all German founded champagne houses. Going a little bit into the Fitzritter, in the 1837, Johann Fitz went to France, learned how to make champagne, came back and started their production house. So this is still one of the oldest sparkling houses in Germany, and they're still in the 9th generation of the same family. And again, this is Charmat method, as was traditional in the sekt category. So fermented in a big tank. A little bit about the wine as you're exploring it. The word Bad in German implies a spa town. And so this is Bad Dürkheim. We have a really warm microclimate. It's embedded in the foothills. It is protected from the cold winds by the bordering hillside forests. So it's a very temperate area to grow grapes. This is 100% Riesling, and it is sourced from local vineyards in the area. And just like to point out the style of this. So this is extra trocken. Trocken meaning dry in German. So if you're familiar with sparkling wine scale, extra dry has slightly more residual sugar than a brut style. So you're going to get more tropical fruit, sweet citrus rather than that lemon pith. You're going to get more of a tangerine, maybe some pineapple in here, and just a more lush, ripe mouthfeel. And that is coming from a touch more sugar. This is 18 grams per liter. So kind of at the top end of extra dry. And I think it's just such a beautiful, pleasurable wine to drink. I'm sure I would love to know in the chat if you all are enjoying this. It's so refreshing. Acidity is so clean and just really pristine, gorgeous, beautiful wine for $22. I mean, I can't imagine a better bubbly to stock my whole cooler with. So good. So this is the wine that we are going to use in our cocktail later. So I want you to put it aside for now while we explore wine number 2, which is the Clean Slate Riesling from the Mosel 2019. Mosel, so they make more Riesling in the Pfalz, but Mosel is actually better known for Riesling. And the name of this wine is actually giving us a little bit of a hint to the terroir, because clean slate, that is referring to the blue and red slate soils in the Mosel. So the Mosel is named after the Mosel River that weaves through the region. And some of the riverbanks are so steep that you have vineyards planted as high as a 70-degree gradient. And it means they're all tended by hand, all hand-picked. You cannot get a tractor on a slope that's like that. And so it can be a difficult place to grow grapes, but it's so rewarding. It's really cool there. And that is what gives us this incredible, beautiful, mouth-watering acidity. But the slate soil is what is allowing this balance to happen, because this red and blue volcanic slate is great for drainage, but more importantly, it actually retains heat. So you're getting a warm, concentrated sunshine during the day, and then the slate soil is able to retain the heat, and then it help the vines achieve their optimal ripeness. So there's really nowhere else in the world for Riesling specifically like there is in the Mosel. Hallmark of Riesling is definitely the acidity. That is one of the reasons why I like to use it in cocktails. Again, I don't want to jump ahead. We'll get to that in a little bit. But you're getting pretty floral aromas here. And then gorgeous, very pure and delicate white peach. Really pretty, maybe some like light lemon, little orange blossom. Really silky mouthfeel, and that acid, oh my word. Begging for food, and we're gonna do a little food display in just a second. But while we're still enjoying the Riesling, just also some fun facts about Riesling for you. It's grown in all 13 German wine regions, and 22% of Germany's vineyard area is dedicated to Riesling. So it is definitely the most important German wine grape. And yeah, there's 23,000 hectares dedicated to Riesling. It's a third of the world's Riesling production is coming from Germany. And tasting this wine, I think you can definitely see why. Nice low moderate alcohol as well. This is only 10.9%. So this would be a brunch wine for me. Nice to enjoy all day long. And a gorgeous clean slate Riesling from the Mosel. So yummy. How is everyone liking the wines? Megan, make sure to let me know if there's any questions at this point before I get ready to show you some of my tips and tricks with party food.
Yeah, thank you. We're getting some comments in the chat that both of the wines are pairing perfectly with the cheese we sent along. So that's really
Yay. I love that. Well, I guess that is a perfect transition to our cheeses. I'm going to put my wine aside, not for long, just for a moment. But as I shared with you all before, when I am hosting, I have decided that the way to go is to create an epic grazing board where I can just put everything out, have everything at ambient temperature, and not be worried about anything getting hot or cold or trying to, work that out. And my guests always love it. It's something for everybody. That's also something that's nice about that cocktail party style is that no one's expecting a full meal and they can grab a slice of pizza on the way home if they are still hungry. So I have a 5-step method that I always use to create these boards, to basically style them and build them. And no matter what theme or what products you're using, this method actually works perfectly every single time. So it's one that I've refined over the years and I always go back to, and I'm going to teach you today. So really excited, and by all means, please continue enjoying your wine during this next little portion and get on that delicious Lagrein cheese. So step one for me, after I have my canvas all set up, my beautiful board, is I actually start with my condiments. Anything that needs to go in a bowl. So a jam, a jelly, a mustard, a honey, a preserve. I take these bowls and I use them to anchor my board. So here I have a delicious spreadable beer cheese. I have apple butter. This is an Oktoberfest German harvest theme board. So everything I sourced for it is all either German products or German inspired. Cornichons, do that there. Sauerkraut, have to do that. I have a German style honey mustard. And finally, just a little honey, because I love just a simple drizzle of honey on pretty much any cheese is amazing. So now that I have my anchors, I'm going to build everything else around it. And this is just gonna look really abundant and full, and it's not too fussy, you guys will see. I just kind of freestyle it. Doesn't have to look perfect. Certainly don't have to get in there and like make sure that each piece of prosciutto is perfectly positioned. It's all just gonna look great. So I'm going to then step 2, after I've anchored my board with my bowls, meat and cheese. So we're gonna start with the Lagrein that you are all enjoying right now. This is a cheese from the Alto Adige region in the north of Italy. But again, that is really just underneath the German border. And there's a lot of Germanic influence there. This cheese is actually soaked in Lagrein wine, along with garlic and herbs when they are aging it. what's not to love? I love a wine soaked cheese any day of the week. So I'll go ahead and place that. Then I have a few other cheeses. I have a really luscious Bavarian triple creme that has mushrooms inside. And one good tip, if you have like an oozy kind of creamy cheese, I like to put those kind of more towards the outside of the board, so it's easier for a guest to kind of get in there and scoop them out. I have Emmental here, which is an Alpine style cheese. It's known as being a native of Switzerland, but it's really, really, really commonly produced in Germany as well. So I will find a good spot for my Emmental. Beautiful. And then finally, I have Butterkäse, which literally translates in the German to butter cheese. It is a mild, really soft, really delicious cheese. It is like 50% butter fat, so it's decadent, but I find it is amazing with the Sekt because the acidity and those bubbles really come in and they kind of clean my palate off perfectly for the Butterkäse. So I'm just gonna heap piles of my Butterkäse cheese onto my board. And if you're gonna make this at home and you wanna snack on a little bit as you're building it, nobody will judge you. Hard not to. Okay, so a nice little pile of Butterkäse. And then I have some meats. It is Oktoberfest after all, so we have some bratwurst, some liverwurst, and some ham. So I will position, my liverwurst is like a pork-based pate, like a spreadable meat. Okay, go right here. And then I have bratwurst, which I just have kind of sliced up. Beautiful. Gonna put that kind of over by my sauerkraut. It's like a suggested serving. And then finally for my ham, we always think about ham, Germany, Black Forest ham. Just a quick note that what we know as Black Forest ham in the US isn't quite authentic. We know it here as a cooked ham, but in Germany, it would be a cured ham, possibly smoked. So I picked out a speck, which is like a smoked prosciutto. And going to kind of shape that around my mustard bowl. Oh, so, so pretty. All right, step 3. What is a board without some bread, some crackers, and some crisps and carby things? And so I had to do it, guys. I did some soft pretzels to honor, again, Oktoberfest. So I'm gonna just kind of arrange those around the spreadable cheese right on the center of my board. Ah, so pretty. And then the sourdough crisps that you guys got in your pack, I absolutely love. So I'm gonna kind of just like pick a couple places to let those have a home. I have some German pumpernickel, which is one of my absolute favorites of the season. So again, yes, it's starting to look really, really rich. Let's do another little pumpernickel fan over here. Oh yeah. Then my next step is going to be fruit and nuts. So I have some fresh fruit and some dry. And I'll probably start with the fresh fruit. So I have some Honeycrisp apples. Again, that feels very German harvest to me. So I will position those around. And I love this beautiful golden color they're giving my board. Ah, yes. This is all starting to come together and it's just so simple. And then I'll do a little dried fruit. So I have some dried apricots, dried cherries, dried figs. If you can find fresh figs right now, they're just about to go out of season. So definitely snap those up, and some Marcona almonds. And so this is kind of fun just to, again, this is where I get artsy. I'm like Jackson Pollock here with like adding color here. Yeah, like a little pop of orange looks really nice, especially over the bratwurst needs a little pop of color, I think. Cherries, I like to just kind of fill in any empty space. Oh yeah. This is, again, just coming together so beautifully. I'm gonna do some grapes. I got these really pretty, deep, luscious looking Concord grapes. So we'll just position a few bunches of those. Oh, yes. Green grapes work too, but for fall, I love these really dark, moody, black grapes. They're really pretty. And then I'll just do a little nut here and there. Again, nuts are really nice to just fill in empty space. Ideally, I don't even want to see the wood of the board. I want the whole thing just to be completely and totally covered. Again, this is just really high impact, but if you source really excellent products, you don't really need to do a lot to them to make them shine. Okay. And then my final step is I really like to bring in a natural element, something that's alive. So anything green, herbs are really nice, maybe leaves or flowers. I picked some fresh thyme because I just love that for fall. So I'm just gonna, take some generous sprigs and just kind of tuck them in around the bowls, kind of around the cheeses. They also have the most incredible aroma. If you walk by this board, you are getting that incredibly fragrant fresh thyme. And these really add so much to the final presentation, just that touch of life. Oh my gosh, so pretty. And then just for fun, I'm going to add just some little wildflowers and just tuck them in among the herbs. And again, this is just going to add such a wow factor. Just like so easy. And we're done. I don't know how well you guys can see it. I think you can see it pretty well in the Zoom, but who would not be thrilled to walk into a cocktail party and see a spread like this? So good. I do like these little bamboo tongs. So sometimes I'll put a little cup of these on the side. Sometimes I'll even just kind of put them on my board so people know if they want to pick up a cube of cheese or a piece of bratwurst, they can kind of do it that way. And that is my 5-step grazing board method that works every single time.
It looks incredible, Sarah.
I'm not gonna lie, the second this is over, I'm going in. It's looking so beautiful, it's smelling so amazing. And yeah, that's just, and it's fun to build. It kind of gets my creative juices flowing.
It's like art. We had a question. How many people do you feel like this would serve?
Me and my imaginary friend. I'm just kidding. I planned this for 4. And this is if people are like really heavily grazing and very snacky. So yeah, I think like 4 to 6, depending on your crowd and how hungry everybody is. Another really great, you guys will notice I went with odd numbers a lot. So like 3 different meats, maybe 3 cheeses. I had 5 different bowls of condiments. So odd numbers always look better on a board. Something about the asymmetry it's a great tip that a cheese expert taught me once that I use all the time. So I do aspire to use odd numbers. I also want to show you, I have a couple other little like make ahead things that I think help elevate everything while not making me crazy as a host. So I made these really beautiful ice cubes, and I will show you like if you can see this one. It has flowers and orange zest and berries. I've frozen them right into the cubes. And so I'm actually going to use them for our next segment, because why not? But I have some that I've done with like fresh cranberries and rosemary. They look like little jewels, little paperweights. And these are something that all you have to do is take like a silicone ice cube tray and fill it with whatever orange zest, lemon zest, herbs, flowers, berries, all of that works really, really nicely. And then you just fill it with filtered water, freeze overnight, and like how beautiful are these? And again, they're impressive. There's such a fine line between having to create a 7-course dinner or just like putting out a bowl of chips and hummus. I think this middle ground is where I like to be. And again, these little things that are really simple, but are just so high impact and so impressive. That is my favorite way to do it. Oh, and one other thing I was actually going to show off, which is related, is that I started setting up, if I make everyone's cocktail ahead of time, one thing that I have begun to do is actually commit to one cocktail and batch it. So whether I make a punch bowl or pitcher, I've made it ahead. And if people would like a cocktail, I'm not doing any like crazy custom shaken martinis and Manhattans and things like that all evening. But I like to create a little station where everyone can garnish and customize their own like spritz or cocktails. So if you guys can see, I just got these little jars. These are like IKEA, and I fill them with little treats. So I have kiwi ginger here. We have blackberries. I have pomegranate seeds. These are really cute just to throw a handful in a drink. Fresh cranberries, always got to have those, especially around the holidays. Fresh herbs, so sometimes it's fun to like throw a sprig of rosemary in your spritz. Paper straws, which are so cute and also eco-friendly. And then I love these little, like you can get decorative little cocktail picks. I just got these on Amazon, and just invite people to make their own little garnish. So I'm gonna do like a piece of ginger, maybe a cranberry, little blackberry on there, maybe like another ginger. And like how cute, you have this precious little garnish. It's something interactive that everyone can be creative and make their own. And then the best thing about this is if I put my glass down, I walk away and I come back, I can never figure out which glass was mine. But when you have your own homemade custom garnish in your glass, you always know which one is yours. So garnish station, here you go. Megan, any questions about the ice or the garnish station or any of the food before we move on to our little mixology moment?
Yeah, actually, Jamie had a good question. Should we be careful that these ice cubes are going to impart the flavors of the herbs onto our beverage?
Absolutely. So you definitely, like, I think when I'm like, what would complement this cocktail? And sometimes if I, for example, making like a gin cocktail, I love that herbal vibe of a rosemary. Others, I might just say, a little citrus would be nice with this. So like the lemon zest, the orange zest, I wouldn't put those in a cube if I didn't want to impart a little bit of citrus or a real quality into my cocktail. It's going to intensify as the cubes melt, but it definitely will add a little bit of flavor, which I think is really fun. You can do like, fresh raspberries and thyme leaves if you're doing like a champagne cocktail or a sect cocktail. So yeah, it's another kind of fun way to add in some flavor and fun. It's a great question. Anybody else? Okay, well, I think it's officially cocktail o'clock. And I want to teach you one of my new favorite cocktails that I created for this session. It's so delicious. It is a spritz, which we'll talk about that category. You might have heard about Aperol spritz, right? Very famous right now. And just a word about using wine in cocktails. This is definitely something that I'm seeing a lot more in the bartending world, in the mixology world. It's not just about sangria, using up your leftover wine, or doing like a mimosa with the cheapest Prosecco you can find. This is all about using really high quality wines that are going to really elevate a cocktail. They can bring in citrus notes, they can bring in orchard fruit notes or tropical fruit. And the other thing I just love about these is that they are so forgiving. With spirits, you have to be very precise, all that finesse that you need to be a competitive, skilled bartender. But with wine cocktails, there's just much more margin for error. So they're so approachable. If you normally wouldn't consider yourself a top level mixologist, I think that these are really easy to do for any home bartender. So I would love for you to grab your sect. And now that we've had plenty of time to enjoy it on its own, you're going to see how lovely it is in a cocktail. And then you're going to want to grab your craft ginger syrup. And if you have a jigger, you're going to want to pour 1/2 ounce of the ginger syrup right over your ice. If you do not have a jigger, you can just use a plain old tablespoon. And I want to check. I'm going to check my notes for the exact conversion, so I give you the proper info. Yeah, just 1 straight proper tablespoon of ginger syrup. And that's now in the bottom of our glass. And then I'm going to add 5 ounces of the sect. You can jiggering out sparkling wine is really difficult. It tends to want to be effervescent and overflow. If you want to, I just eyeball it. I will pour and I will slowly count to 5. That was the way that I was taught to do it back in my restaurant days. And then if you want to use a liquid measuring cup, it's 2/3 of a cup. So go ahead with your 5 ounces of sect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I poured like a tiny bit short because I was worried about overflow. Beautiful. And then you're going to want to take your spoon and just give it a slight little stir. You want to incorporate the ginger syrup into the wine. Otherwise, it's going to kind of sit at the bottom of the glass and you're going to get a big hit of it at the end, which we don't want. All right. Then your Fee Brothers cranberry bitters. These are incredible. You're going to want to do 5 dashes. And when you're using bitters in a cocktail, a dash is like, it's like an aggressive shake. So it's more than a drop, it's a dash. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at the color. Oh my word, this is absolutely beautiful. And I might give it another tiny little, just making sure it's all incorporated. The ginger syrup gives this really warm, like autumnal spice. The cranberry gives a little tartness and a little bitterness. So they create this incredible balance. And then of course you have this luscious, very ripe, beautiful sect wine. And if you want to stop there, you certainly could. If you happen to have a bottle of sparkling water, I'm going to then add some to top off my cocktail. And this is what is technically going to make your drink a spritz. So the legend of the spritz, it was born in the Veneto region of northern Italy, but in the 1800s, you're talking about this area being controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And you had Austrian and German soldiers that were constantly coming through the region. They would go to the local tavern and they would order some wine. And they found the wine really, really powerful and strong compared to the beer they were used to at home. So they got used to pouring a splash of water to make it a little bit more palatable for themselves. And that splash is the spritz. The word spritz just means a nice splash. So that is officially a spritz now. I think I'll go ahead and put my cute little garnish on there because why not? Pretty paper straw. Oh my gosh. The spice in that ginger syrup is just so pure and gorgeous, but I love the little zing and that tartness of the cranberry bitters. I do think this is like an incredible holiday cocktail from now through, obviously through to the new year, any time of year really, but I would love to hear, how is everyone liking the spritz? And Megan, are there any spritz cues?
It looks like everyone is loving it. It's so pretty. I can't believe how pretty.
Color is so stunning and so vibrant. Beautiful. It almost looks like it could be Aperol, but it's so much better. It's a lot less basic than an Aperol spritz.
Yeah, definitely. And Samantha says this combination brings out and enhances the wine. So that's awesome. Now, is this something that you could make ahead in a batch, or yeah?
I have definitely made sparkling cocktails ahead. I mean, I'll make a pitcher of mimosas. Why wouldn't she make a pitcher of something like this? You could certainly make it to order, but again, if I made a pitcher of it, I would assume that within, I don't know, 10 minutes, I'd be pouring around for everybody. I wouldn't necessarily make it in a pitcher and put it out for like an hour. You can do that with the next little trick I'm going to show you. I have a bonus recipe for you guys, and I'm going to demo out with the clean slate Riesling. But with this, you certainly could batch it, but I wouldn't expect this to have a very long shelf life. If I wanted to batch for volume, because I didn't want to make 6 cocktails at the same time, it was easier just to do it in a pitcher. I think I could do that, yeah.
Awesome.
Any other questions, anyone, before I give you your bonus cocktail recipe?
I don't think so. Manon said she added rosemary, I think, and Jamie recommended batching without ice cubes so as to not water it down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. I would pour it over ice, so make it in a pitcher just as is. And yeah, I think that's a fabulous, fabulous idea, Jamie.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I have just the whole rest of my bottle of clean slate Riesling. And so I thought it would be fun to show you how I do a punch. And I love punches, again, talk about like set it and forget it. This is really simple to do and very easy to make. So I know I included the recipe in the kit that you guys got, so you can make it on your own at some other point in time. I just do entire bottle. Just pour it right on in there. Okay, and my theme for this, I'm going to use rosemary, and I'm also going to use pear. I love the way that pear enhances a Mosel Riesling, because I find that the Mosel Riesling actually does already have some pear and some light, delicate orchard fruit flavors. Pear is just going to really complement that. So I'm going to use some pear nectar, and I have just, 1 1/4 cups. I'm going to pour that right on in. Then I'm going to use the wrapped ginger syrup again, because ginger, pear, rosemary, really wintry, autumnal, gorgeous together. And this is just a 1/3 cup of the ginger syrup you all got in your kit. And then I got these rosemary bitters. These are from Addition is the brand, but honestly, lots of different producers make a rosemary bitter. And this is just 2.5 tablespoons. And this is going to really give that herbal essence to punch. And I make sure that I give it a little stir to combine. And then I'm going to top it with a bunch of soda or seltzer to give it a sparkle. I think I said 2 cups, but this is really to taste. If you like a stronger punch, you could also add a spirit to this if you wanted to. But again, I like to keep things light. So I'm just gonna go for that light expression. And then for the punch, instead of doing the ice cubes, I've actually made 60s housewife style an ice ring. So I just use basically a ring mold that you would use for possibly a cake or something like that. And I filled it with pears and with rosemary and with some pomegranate seeds for color. Oh my gosh. And you can see I have some pomegranate, but then the top is just a fan of beautiful pear, rosemary, and this will float right in my bowl. Oh my gosh, so gorgeous. And this is going to essentially slowly dilute over several hours. It's going to keep the punch chilled. You're not going to have to worry about that. It'll just be perfect to drink. And it just looks absolutely stunning and so impressive. And then you just ladle out a little bit for your guests. Sometimes if I want to refresh it, I'll just pour in another whole bottle of wine. And then to taste, I'll add, odds and ends of the other ingredients if I need it. But this is something you can definitely free flow, freehand, and it turns out pretty delicious every single time. All right, so Megan, I'd love to know how we're doing on time. Do we have time for a little Q&A? If anybody has anything else they'd love to ask me?
Yeah, we're doing perfectly on time. It's 5:50, and I'm personally amazed by that ice ring and by this cocktail. I can't get over how good it is. Jamie asked what kind of, was that a silicone bundt pan for the ice ring or?
Actually metal. So again, like something that you could definitely bake a cake in. It's just like, you can hear that. You can use silicone molds if you like. I don't think you necessarily need to. The trick though, if you're going to use metal, is to take it out and let it thaw. I pulled it out at the very beginning of the hour, and it's going to naturally thaw, and it's just going to pop right out of the pan. If you want to be able to kind of push it out of the silicone mold, that is a situation where you might want silicone, but you can also like put the bottom of the metal ring pan like in a little bit of warm water if you also want to kind of speed up that thawing process, make it a little bit easier to remove from the mold.
Wow, I'm so excited this is being recorded because I'm going to need to revisit all these tips. Christina asked if you could add fruit to the punch and if that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would, for me, like, you would get the effect that you sometimes get with the sangria where the fruit actually soaks up a little bit of the wine. So you get a little tasty treat after. So yeah, you could absolutely add fruit. And with a punch like this, it's really casual. It's kind of like whatever you want to put in it. But yeah, for me, as this ice ring melts, eventually the pear slices and the pomegranate seeds are going to release into the punch as well. So you'll still get a little good snack there.
Wow, it's almost like 2 different cocktails. You have one before it all melts and then one after with the...
That's it. It's the punch that keeps on giving.
Brianna asked if you would recommend a certain type of spirit to maybe add to it to spice it up.
Yeah, if you want to just keep things very neutral, I would say vodka is obviously an easy choice because that's not going to overwhelm. The thing I love about this punch is I can still really taste the Riesling. I'm not trying to cover up the flavors of the wine. If I'm using like really cheap, like poor quality wine, I'm throwing brandy in there, I'm throwing rum, like anything I can do to kind of disguise that. But with this Mosel Riesling, it just does add so much beautiful flavor that I feel like if I was to use a bourbon or an aged rum, it actually might be a little bit overpowering, and I want to be able to really appreciate the delicate flavors of the wine. So Yeah, vodka you could do, but I don't think I would do anything much beyond that with this.
Nice. Are there any other German wines besides Riesling that maybe could do well in a cocktail or for entertaining?
Yes, so I use German wines a lot when I have people over because my my friends across the board, they just don't like Chardonnay, and I happen to love it, but they're like the ABC kind of crowd, anything but Chardonnay crew, and so I love the variety of amazing German whites. So Sylvaner, Kerner, Weissburgunder, those are all really fun to have at a party. People may not have tried Kerner. They might be super impressed that you throw some sophisticated wine at them. And the aromatic whites from Germany are fabulous for entertaining. They work very well in cocktails and punches too, but just as something unique, I'm at this point, like if I walk into another event and just have like see another bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, I'm like, please give me something different. And so I do love the diversity of German white wines. And then I love Spätburgunder. It's the German Pinot Noir. And those are wonderful, wonderful wines also for entertaining.
Yeah, Abigail mentioned she wants to make this the cranberry cocktail at Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving just made me immediately jump. I can never wait until Christmas for Glühwein, which
Yes.
which Spätburgunder is great in Pinot Noir, and it's the hot mulled wine. I can never wait until Christmas. I always make it at Thanksgiving too, but this would be great with Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, and again, German wine for Thanksgiving, I'm telling you guys, especially if you're being with family members where if they do have like one too many glasses California Chardonnay, things start to get like a little sloppy, and you know, Auntie Sue feels the need to share all of her political beliefs. I mean, I always tell people for Thanksgiving, keep the wines light, keep the alcohol low. Everyone's gonna have a better time. And Thanksgiving too it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like there's, you know, food and more food, and there's football, and there's, you know, pie, and I think German wines are something that I can sip through the whole day and still feel great the next morning for Black Friday.
Absolutely. Black Friday is probably gonna be more of a Cyber Monday this year, but
I hope so.
I think if there are no more questions, I just want to give you a huge thanks. This was incredible. Everything looks so delicious and tasted delicious. And thank you so much. And I want to thank all of our attendees also for joining us. Just a reminder to connect with us on social media. We're German Wine USA, and Sarah is the Lush Life.
Yes, I would love to see your cocktails. So tag me so I can see what everyone made.
These are definitely Instagram worthy. I'm loving it.
Well, this was so fun, Megan. Again, thank you so much for having me. And I know we appreciate everyone taking the time out of your day to join us for this. This is a blast. So fun.
Thank you so much. And to all of our attendees, if you're joining us for our final event tomorrow, then we're excited to see you there. And if not, we're excited to stay in touch with everyone virtually or someday in person again. So, Prost.
Prost.